some late start options for high school, taking a look at this office location, and then whether or not 8 elementary buildings plus Johnson preschool really fits the need for the district. So quite a comprehensive report, and obviously not all these things were even intended to be enacted last year. So I provide this more of just a background of to where we were at the time the task force took a look at these things, and just to give some recognition to what things did we do, what things do we need more research on, and what things should we be looking at next as a board. I know one of the questions that came up, and I've heard, and I know Mary Ann and Kathy Fields has helped with this, as well as all of our principals. One thing we did this summer was we completed, and as recently as last week, we've really completed attacking the SGA closure. So of course we know we closed it, but there was some stuff over there. There was still some educational materials, some consumables, and we have now, through Mary Ann's leadership, working with the principals, repurposed that stuff. So whether it's glue or paint or art supplies or science lab stuff, that stuff is now in the hands of kids. And so the initial move out was phase 1. Phase 2 of now getting all that material back out in front of kids so we don't have to buy it has really been effective. So hats off to them for the good work. Penny, would you mind sharing the SBA sheet that you copied or put together? Another thing that came out of that, and I think the reason I'm sharing this is foundational to any discussion that we have as a board about the future of Kennedy moving forward, is what in fact did SGA save? Did it save money? And if so, what money? And how do we know? And so, I charged Penny with putting that together, which she's done a nice job of. And so this sheet breaks down person by person, position by position, the folks that building closure directly impacted, and then the finances that saved with that decision the board made. So as you're looking this sheet over, reflect on the fact that at the minimum, saving $819,497 was the benefit of a very difficult decision that the board arrived at last spring. And that decision definitely to that amount, plus a little bit additional, which we won't know until this year ends, about what's the additional utilities we're going to save by not fully heating that building, by not operating all the equipment in that building. There'll be some additional savings on there. It's really hard to tell, but let's just ballpark and say not much additional. But if you look at that figure is instrumental in attacking a significant deficit the district found itself in. So when you think about the number of kids in that building, and then you think about a building the size of Kennedy, this building should give you a comparable on the low end about what that Kennedy closure would save. I think the task force recommendation, the numbers I heard were in the $2 million range. And if a building with essentially a quarter of the kids, a half of the kids save that amount, then a $2 million figure, especially for a building that we're having to spend more on utility-wise, I don't think is out of the realm of possibility, because this deals strictly in positions, and this is costed out, of course, salaries, benefits, FICA retirement across the board. So these are the positions that were directly impacted. I bring this up not that I don't mind congratulating the board on the good work they did, but more as a comparison piece to show the differences in this building, of course, in Kennedy. Kennedy is dealing with some things, and I guess the best way to show it is just to show it. I'm going to pass this one down. Kennedy is dealing with some things like this. Watch your hands, they're a little dirty.
I've seen that.
You've seen these? So I've got the whole box here. These pipes are filled up with 60 years of junk. This one happens to be one that, if you look, the teeth are eaten away, the holes here. Original equipment over 60-some years with no maintenance, because you can't get into the walls to maintain them. When something this size breaks, you're doing significant cutting to get at it and harvest it. And so, according to Thor, 18 of these last winter. We've had quite a few this winter, and so Thor and Leanne, hats off to you and the crew for keeping that building open day in, day out. But, the question has come up to me by multiple folks. Well, now that we have a bond and a millage, could we fix it? It's an interesting question. So I asked Thor to get a hold of Detroit Boiler, which is a company that helps us with a lot of our significant work, and come up with a figure. So what would it cost, just for discussion's sake, if we were to try to completely fix our pipe issues that have caused multiple blowouts and leaks? What would it cost? Well, they've come up with that figure, which they will be providing me in writing, but I've got it memorized because I got it just the other day. The cheapest it could possibly be, going back with black galvanized pipe, is $1.2 million. And $1.2 million would mean cutting into all vertical walls, all floors and all ceilings to expose every square inch, square foot of pipe, or linear foot I should say, and replacing everything. And then reconcreting all of the gaping holes that you've just cut throughout the whole building to get at all the pipes, because none of them are right there in plain view. They're all running inside the walls. So $1.2 million would be going back with black galvanized. If you went with copper or PEX, $2 million. So there's your range, 1.2 to 2. And the money isn't so much, at least as an educator, important to me as it was the time. I said, all right, what's the turnaround time? The fastest possible time, according to Detroit Boiler, with no major hiccups and problems, was a little bit over 3 months. So they were in the 13-week range, which means it's not possible to do in the summer. So in the event anyone ever entertained the idea of a repair and a continued operation long-term of the building, you're talking closure at the minimum of a marking period or longer. So summer into fall or spring into summer, you'd have to have a period of time, 15 plus weeks to be safe, with no operation in the building. And then a significant investment financially, and then what? Well, hopefully, if you were to invest that much time and effort, you'd reoccupy the building for another 40 years.
The pool's out too, right?
Pool's out too, right.
Yeah,
So
the pool's out too, so.
separate issue, yes.
Yeah.
So a pool heater repair and all the valving there that's gonna add a little.
I mean, throw it in there, but that's a big part of
60
it.
to 80,000 for the
Yeah.
pool, so in comparison, it's pennies, but it's still an issue. So, couple figures, the 1.2 to 2, and then the 3 months plus turnaround time.
I have to interject it, because, and I think everybody's probably going to do this, any major construction, always tack on 15-20% of the cost of
Sure.
time. I mean, really, just saying.
Once you get in and start tearing walls down,
You'll find
you don't
something
know what
that'll
you're
take
getting
longer and
into
cost
then.
more. Sorry, Mr. Lewis, but it's,
Oh, no.
it's relevant. to
You're
this.
exactly right. I've yet to see a job like that comes in 3 weeks early. It is what it is.
Anyway.
So what is new construction going with as far as pipes go? Galvanized, copper, PEX? What do most people, if they have a new construction, what's the standard pipe?
People like to use, copper's really expensive. People like to use PEX because it's flexible. And so you can snake it through walls, you can snake it around stuff as you're building. It's more user-friendly to repair after, but it is more expensive based on just what the product's made of. The cheapest product is the black galvanized, and that's why it costs you a little less. However, all that said, then I wanted to know, with the task force recommendation, what did the board actually decide in their wording back April 11th? And so Kim Webb and I did a little research, and we wanted to take a look at, and this is the agenda with the notes from, I think this was, who was taking notes that day? Do we think?
Originally Lori.
This was Lori, okay. So this was Lori, I believe. So you'll see handwriting here from Lori as to what the board took a look at on this day, April 11th, this past spring. And supporting that, let's see, what page is that on? You flip ahead to number 6, reconfiguration of the district. There's quite a lot of stuff here, and I wanted just to take a close look at what things were voted on, what things were tabled, and what things remain to be done. One of those others that I know I mentioned just a few minutes ago was TVLA. So we see on number 6, closing of SGA was proposal 4, and that looks like it passed. Then we see move 6th graders, of course, that passed. Move special ed to board annex, that was on hold, so that was tabled. Consolidate high schools, first phase, second phase was tabled. But the motion looks like it said to continue working this proposal, return on May 23rd to vote on implementing 17-18 school year, which I don't believe May 23rd, I didn't pull that one, but I don't know if that, does the board recall whether we just continue that for discussion? Just more from a planning standpoint, you know, as I'm working to try and gather information, I want to make sure I'm providing the board the best direction on issues like this. And this one, I have a feeling as time has gone on, might take more study. But I really brought it up not to belabor where we were, but more to really give careful reconsideration of what the task force looked at, and then to take direction from the board as to what additional information might the board need, might the board be interested in. Because as Penny and I are sitting down and doing some additional work with the administrative review, there may very well be other facts and figures that we can pull together to begin helping the board as we take a look at something as challenging as careful planning on the topic of Kennedy High School. And it's not something, of course, we're trying to make a decision on tonight, more just about taking a look at where we were, and then how can I and how can the cabinet and I together help the board with fact finding.
So on May 23rd, on the agenda, sanitary sewer easement telecommunications agreement, there were 13 curriculum proposals. I remember that night. Student reinstatements, personnel report, layoff notification, TPA, and unless it was under other, without my notes in front of me, it's not on the agenda.
Okay. And that's what I was thinking as well. And so, you know, of course, it's not on today's agenda per se. I'm just bringing it up under other one, just to kind of get the collective impetus together as to how can the cabinet and I begin to pull information together. You know, what's the pleasure of the board as far as you know, next steps on this topic. You know, I know I'll continue to work with Thor and Leanne on gathering information about planning related to Kennedy. You know, any facts and figures that might help. Working with Dan as we move into the spring, as you know, we'll be looking at enrollment projections. Of course, those things are critical. Taking a look at you know, at Truman, capacity for Truman, taking a look at all these things. I know those things were in part looked at in the past, but sometimes as time goes on, you realize, you know, we should have looked at X or Y, and now that I've thought about this, we need to consider Z, whatever Z is. You know, you all have to defer to you. You've been here far longer than I have, and have much greater expertise kind of in your hindsight as to all the good work that took place. And again, as I look through that, thanks to everyone who served in that capacity. But I think it's probably paramount that we start to look at, and it's not just the topic of Kennedy, but it's the other things that were in here as well. Are any of those things part of an efficient and a vibrant Taylor of tomorrow? That's really what we're talking about. So the Taylor School District of tomorrow that's vibrant, efficient, and attracting kids to our vibrant programs. What things that are in this task force recommendation contribute to that, and what things really don't. And if they don't, then we probably shouldn't really give them a lot of airtime. And if they do, we probably should find ways to undergird and support those as we look to lift them up.